Hi everyone, Scott Weaver with Designer's Workroom. So my previous videos regarding the pinch pleating draperies for beginners, we discussed the drapery fullness. We've discussed drapery stack back. We've discussed a little bit about how to make the pinch pleated drape itself. We didn't go into crazy detail over that, just a little video on that. So before you begin this session, please go back and review the other ones. They're all short videos. It might make a little bit more sense to you. But in this video, we're going to begin to pinch pleat a drapery panel or a pair to a 40-inch rod width. Okay, so I have a rod here, and this is a standard traverse rod. So we're going to discuss how we have to do this. So on a drapery panel, and this is where you're going to have to put your thinking caps on quite well. We have 40 inches. So on the piece of paper here, I'm just going to scribble down 40-inch rod width. RW for rod width. That's 40 inches for our rod width. Now, since a drapery, that's just our rod width. But we have to add to this because we have what's called an overlap here, where the drapes overlap. They overlap 2 inches on this side and 2 inches on that side. So that's 4 inches. Now stick with me. This gets a little complicated, but it all comes into pleating a drapery. So this is what's called the overlap. So on this here, I'm going to write down 4 inch for overlap. Okay, so we have a 40-inch rod width. We have 4 inches for the overlap. Now, the drapery has to return on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side. There are brackets. Unfortunately, these brackets aren't on this. They're probably hanging on a wall someplace. But there are brackets, and that's what's called the return. On this drapery panel, that's what it would look like. So this returns back to the wall. This pleat would go here, like this. This would go to the end, and this returns back to the wall, like so. So, knowing that on a pinch pleated drapery, we have to add, just put this over here, 4 inches for our left return, and 4 inches for our right return. Okay, so this is all the things we have to calculate. 40 inches is our rod width. That is how the width of our rod going on our window. We have 4 inches for the overlap here. We have a 4-inch left return and a 4-inch right return. We add that up, and what we come up with is 52 inches. So our pair, if it's a pair of draperies, if it's just one panel, you'd have to pleat your panel to 52 inches. As previously explained, if this was just one panel of 52 inches, you need more than one width of fabric. This being one width of fabric, you'll never get 52 inches out of it. So you have to add another width. So you'll have to go back to my previous video on regarding the drapery fullness. In this case, we're making a pair. So we have a rod coverage. We have to cover 52 inches. So what we do with that is we divide that by 2 equals 26 inches. So now we have to make a 26-inch left panel and a 26-inch right panel. Okay? 52 inches divided by 2 is 26 inches. So each of these panels have to be 26 inches. So it returns back to the wall, and we have our overlap. So that's that part of it. Now, At this point, knowing that we need our panels to be 26 inches, we have to measure the width of our fabric. And the width of our fabric now has to be the hemmed fabric. The width hem, that means you have to have all your joinings, if you're having a joining, or your side hems. In this case, I have my side hems on here. So I use a double 1.5 inch side hem. This was 54-inch material. But now we're talking about the fabric with hemmed. That's what it's called. So you have this, and now we're going to measure the width of our fabric with the hems. And it is exactly 48 inches. So we're going to write down that we have 48 inches of material. That's the width of material. And that 48 inches has to pleat down to 26 inches. So I'm going to put this over here, 26 inches. So you take 48 inches and you minus your 26 inches. And you come out with 22 inches. So now you have to get rid of 22 inches. You have 48 inches now. We need it to pleat down to 26 inches. We have to get rid of 22 inches. And where is that 22 inches? That's what you use to put in your pinch pleat. So what we have to do now is we have the 22 inches. We're going to divide it by the 5 pleats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pleats. So we take 22 inches, divide that by 5. You come out with 4.4 inches. So 22 inches divide by 5 pleats equals 4.4 inches. Okay, so to recap what we have right now, we started with a 40-inch rod. We had a 4-inch overlap where they center draw and overlap each other. We have a 4-inch return on the left, a 4-inch return on the right. It makes our total pleated width 26 inches. And since we're making a pair, we're going to divide that by 2. So each of our panels needs to be 26 inches each panel. From there, we took our 48 inches, which is our panel size. That's what our panel size is. And we're deducting 26 inches, that 26 inches. That gives us a remainder of 22 inches. That's what we have to get rid of to make this 22 plus 26 is 48. So that 22 inches is what we have to get rid of. That's what it has to pleat. So that leaves us, if you divide it by 5 pleats, comes out to 4.4 inches each pleat. Now we have to know what's our space. Well, we have to have equal spaces. So basically, if we have 5 pleats, we have 6 spaces. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pleats. So that leaves us with 6 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Although they're not going to be equal spaces. Since we know we have to have a 4-inch overlap, and most rods with the returns are also going to be 4 inches. So knowing that, since we have to have our 26 inches, we're going to go back to our panel size of 26 inches. So 26 inches. The first thing we'll do, we're going to take that 4 inches from the return and overlap and take it off. Minus 8 inches. That leaves us with 18 inches, I believe. 18 inches. So I took our panel size of 26 inches and I just deducted the return and overlap That gives us a remainder of 18 inches. That 18 inches, you can divide it into 4 equal spaces here. So we're going to divide that, divided by 4 spaces. And what does that come out to? 4.5 inches. But we'll do it on the calculator. We have 18 inches divided by 4 spaces is 4.5 inches. So each space is going to be 4.5 inches for our space. So let's go look back and look at that again. 4.5 times 4 spaces, whoops, 4.5 times 4 is 18 inches plus our 4-inch return and 4-inch overlap plus 4 plus 4 equals 26 inches. So now we're back to our 26 inches. I told you it's going to be a little confusing. So now we have everything. We're going to have 5 pleats. Just going to take 4.5 inches. We have 4 spaces in between that are going to be 4.5 inches. And then we have our return and overlap that are both going to be 4 inches. So with that, we're going to take our material, and I'm going to roll some buckram on here. The nice part about this buckram is you can just put it right on. And this is pretty much so what you do with your drapery. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to double turn this little guy. Should probably stretch that out just a little bit more. We didn't quite have it right. Put a couple pins in. Okay. Now, this is pretty much what you would have with your drapery. And I advise you use pins. Don't use magic markers or pens or anything else on your fabric. You want to get a ruler of some sorts. We are going to begin getting this ready for pinch pleating. We're going to come over, we're going to mark our 4-inch return or overlap, whichever one it is. And 4-inch over here. One of the reasons why you're using pins, get this out of the way, is so you can move them also, if you need to move them one way or the other. Now, with that, now we're going to start with our first pleat. Our pleat's 4.4 inches. It's hard to say what that is. It's about 4 3/8, give or take. So that's why we're going to do it with a pin. Okay, that's our first pleat. Now we're going to do our space. Going by our sheet, each space is 4.5 inches. We're going back to our pleat, which is the 4 3/8. And back to the 4.5 inches. 4 3/8 again. Four and a half inches. Now if you wanted to add a little bit more, it's okay if your drape comes out a little bit wider. Matter of fact, I encourage it. So even though I'm going by the book with being 4 3/8 inch and 4.5, you could make the pleat 4 1/4 inches and make the space just a little bit larger. And by doing that, you're giving it a little bit of easement. Okay, so now we have our pleat, space, pleat, space, pleat, space, pleat. This is our last space, 4.5. And this is going to tell you if you did it right, because then you're going to measure your last pleat. Now my last pleat's about 4 3/4, so it's a little big. So if I want to keep it consistent, I can go back to 4 3/8 here, which makes my space a little bit big. I'll go 4.5 here. Until we even it out to be fairly close, which I have. It doesn't have to be rocket science, but you want it close, of course. And you're better off having your space a little larger than a little smaller. I had somebody one time make a comment about it and saying, well, I followed your instructions to a T and it didn't come out. It was 2 inches too narrow. It really can't. If you're doing the math, and you're doing the math right, math doesn't lie. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to bring this over and we're going to sew it pin to pin, like so, on each one of them, and then we'll see what it comes out to be. So hold tight, be right back. Okay, so over by the sewing machine, and now we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring, now this right here you can also sew down, right where this is kind of hanging right out here. You'd want to sew that down if this is a regular drapery. Right now we're just working on pinch pleating to show you how to pinch pleat a drapery. So we go to pin, we put these two pins together like so. And you're going to come over here. You kind of have to use a little bit of memory if you're doing it this way. Take your pins out and look for your holes. And put your foot right on it. Now, I don't know if you have one of these, but if you do, it works out pretty good. Using a magnet, if you can, if your machine can handle it, we actually put a magnet right where the pleat is, and that's going to keep us staying straight. Let's see, can you see that magnet? Yeah, you can probably see the magnet. Magnet is right there. And you're just going down. You can feel the edge of the buckram. You're only going down to the bottom of the buckram, and that's it. No farther. That's your first pleat. Get your next two pins lined up. Take your pins out. And pretty much so my magnet is telling me where I have to go anyway, because I've already got it there. last pleat. Now, many home sewing machines, you're not going to be able to use a magnet because it's plastic. So instead of doing that, you could take a ruler and just temporarily tape it, because it really does help having this nice and straight, having a straight edge. And it ensures that once you have your first pleat, all, marked here, all of your pleats, because you marked them all the same, they're all going to be the same. Now at this point, before you actually form your three-prong pleat, you want to check the size. So we're going to go ahead and check the size right now. Okay, so we're back at the table, and this did come out exactly 26 inches. But you can see you have 4-inch return, a 4-inch overlap, you have 4 equal spaces at 4.5 inches, and you have approximately 4.4 inches or 4 3/8 inches for your pleats. So the next thing we're going to do to show you is how to form a three-prong pleat. Now there's a couple of different variances you can do. You can do a three-prong pleat, or you can do a two-prong pleat. And there's advantages. You can even do what's called tack at a top. But there's advantages to both, because fabric can get very thick. So if you wanted just a simple two-prong pleat, you can take the material. Let me just do it real quick. And you can do a simple two-prong pleat that looks like that, instead of doing a three-prong pleat. And that saves on a lot of the thickness, especially going through your machine. And it's a nice little look. Instead of having the exact three-prong pleat, like this one does, two-prong pleat works very well. If you want to do a three-prong pleat, let me get back to the machine and we'll show you how to do that real quick. Here is your pleat. What you're going to do is pinch the top of this with your hand and spread this out on either side. Until you have a fold that kind of looks like that. Then you're going to grab each end of this and make a three-prong pleat, like so. Then you have to stick it under the machine. Now, this machine could handle going right over on the top of it. Let me turn this around. But you're probably better off going right underneath the buckram. And just do a little stitch, like so. Just a little tack. Cut off the extra threads. There's your three-prong pleat. Going to crease it. And you're good to go. There's your three-prong pleat. This is what it looks like on the back side. And if you had lining, the lining would be held in there. I sewed down on each end. So there's your first introduction to making a pinch pleated drapery. I hope it helped you. Thank you very much for watching. Scott Weaver with Factory Direct Designers Workroom. I hope you enjoyed the content of my videos, and I'm hoping that you're going to like and subscribe to my channel. It would be muchly appreciated. Also, I put a lot of time and effort into putting this together, and I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't mind donating a small portion of money to keep this channel going. It's of course not necessary, but it's always appreciative. And also with that, if you have any questions regarding maybe some drapery stack back or swags, whatever your question is, I would be happy to help you out with that. And to do that, all you need to do is just search for Scott Weaver or Scott Weaver videos, and you can click on it, and there's the subscribe button, of course. And then you click onto my face here, and over here you'll see a donate to PayPal. You hit that, and it'll bring you to the link, and it is safe and secure. There it is right there. You can donate with either a credit card, any credit card or debit card, or by PayPal. Of course, this is not necessary, and I'm going to keep giving you the best videos that I possibly can with the limited resources I have. But anyhow, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.